Why are you here? Maybe that's a question you're asking yourself, and it's a common question that trustees ask of themselves. In this video, we ask this important question and try to dig down to what your personal motivation might be. When you've got enough on your plate with juggling commitments at work and home, it's not uncommon to question why we may actually want to serve on the board in the first place, and what difference do we really make. Maybe you joined the board because you really wanted to make a difference, but maybe it's because you had a particular aspect of the school that you wanted to see developed. It's not uncommon for trustees to have very good intentions when joining the board, but then to get bogged down with seemingly irrelevant or disengaging meetings, frustrated by a lack of clarity in what they're doing and why. So if you feel confused or frustrated by your position on the board, then let's take a moment to reflect and changing perspective from that of performance to purpose. First, irrespective of how many of the videos in this series you've watched already, reflect on how you see your role as a trustee in the school. Now, there's been a lot of research and publications about school boards, and in surveys asking trustees about their opinions on the weakness of their board, it's common to find trustees commenting on 4 areas. First, the tendency to micromanage. Second, problems associated with high board turnover. Third, poor meeting management, whether poor time management, lack of clarity about decision making, or the behavior of some of the trustees. And fourth, where you have opposite ends of the spectrum where some trustees are disengaged, while others have personal agendas that are clearly dominating. And when it comes to major issues that dominate board time in international schools, typically the responses relate to finance, and the associated discussions about enrollment challenges or marketing, legal challenges to the school, curriculum or accreditation issues that require a change in the school, and changing parent expectations, perhaps linked to demographics. Now, step back and think about the composition of your board. For sure, there may be some corporate boards where you work closely together as a team, perhaps looking after multiple schools and projects. But the majority of schools that have any form of elected board have a mix of people and personalities that each bring particular insight or specialism. What analogy would you use to describe a school board? Perhaps you thought of an orchestra, where there are many special and unique functions by the various members, but then the orchestra probably has to rehearse more often than a monthly meeting. Throw into the mix the challenges of board turnover and a lack of clarity about who's the conductor, and it's little wonder really that work on the board can be confusing and frustrating. The point is this: if all trustees are better informed and more equipped to understand their roles and responsibility, there's a greater chance that the board as a whole can establish working norms that are more engaging, and so give you a greater sense of reward for the contributions that you make. However, a high-performing board won't likely emerge at random, but would take a conscious effort on behalf of the chair and all trustees to create a climate of trust, respect, and purpose. And that's where these videos come into play. As you may have figured out, learning something new can be immensely rewarding, but at the same time strangely difficult and tiring, as your brain creates new connections. Part of the challenge is to let go of fixed perceptions that you may have had, so that you can begin to explore new ideas that may prove enlightening. Remember that if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And if you want something different, you have to try something different. Which is why you're listening to me, to see if there's anything new that you can apply to your situation. And if you really want to make a lasting transformation, then there are 5 C's that may prove useful in shaping your thinking. First is a conceptual understanding. Do you have a broad understanding at a conceptual level of what governance involves and how it differs to the day-to-day management of the school? That's the function of the head of school and the administration. Do you know what effective boards do and how they approach their work? So impactful boards ensure that trustees have clearly defined roles and responsibilities and understand how their roles are different yet complementary to the head of school and the administration. Trustees understand that part of their role is to ensure alignment between the vision, values and structures and facilities to continually enhance the impact on learning in the school. Second is a constructive partnership. Are you creating and nurturing healthy relationships, especially with the head of school and the wider community, conducive to moving the school forward in its mission? Impactful boards build a constructive partnership with the head of school, and in turn the wider community as appropriate. The relationship with the head of school is seen as pivotal and therefore is nurtured through mutually developing trust, respect and open communication. The board proactively supports the head of school in cultivating positive relations with the various stakeholder communities and ensures that he or she operates ethically. My third C is a commitment to a common vision. Do you and your fellow trustees have a genuine commitment to transform governance in the school? Commitment will take time for sure, but also a commitment to a common vision, which is best approached through essential agreements and modes of operations in meetings. Impactful boards create, cultivate and communicate a compelling mission and vision for the school. Trustees ensure that there's congruence between these guiding principles, values and strategic goals, which in turn leads to consistent decision making. The board's aspirations, goals and intentions are prioritized and appropriately shared with the stakeholders. Impactful boards promote a culture of transparency, ensuring that stakeholders have access to appropriate, timely and accurate information regarding the school and its position. Fourth is a capacity for integrity and rigor. Are you driven by doing the right thing? Are you able to put aside your personal motivations in order to achieve long-term success for the school? Impactful boards ensure that the school has the internal capacity to implement the learning plans within the school. Trustees take a keen interest in ensuring that the financial support, personnel, systems, facilities and resources are sufficient to sustain the school's short and medium-term plans in line with its mission and values, and to take the necessary time to prioritize and develop long-term strategic plans that are used to inform agendas and are continually monitored. Impactful boards act with integrity and uphold high ethical standards, which ensures legal compliance and active fiduciary oversight for all aspects of the school. Trustees collaborate but also question and challenge assumptions and engage in healthy debate and discussion so that they ensure that the issues are understood and fully explored before decisions are made. Trustees put the long-term interest of the school first and ensure that there are no conflicts of interest that affects their decisions, whether through personal gain or coercion. Trustees demonstrate personal integrity through their commitment to respectful debate in board meetings while upholding the board's common position without personal criticism or action to undermine it. And finally, competency and challenge. Are there the competencies on the board to affect the changes that you're setting out to achieve? How does your board set goals? And are you prepared to engage with ongoing professional development to help shape your thinking and skills? Impactful boards have given careful thought to identify individual and organizational competencies needed for success. Trustees are aware of their aspirations, the likely drivers of change, and an understanding of the change management required to meet the challenges along the way. Impactful boards ensure that there's a process of ongoing professional development and self-review, which includes deliberate processes for identifying and inducting new trustees, so that there's an alignment between the school's mission, strategic goals, values, and work of the board. Impactful boards continually challenge themselves, individually and collectively, and in so doing, set the framework for school development and progress. Trustees recognize that their domain is the long-term success of the school and associated strategic plans and policy, and therefore they craft appropriate targets and measures so that they may evaluate the performance of the school with these targets in mind. The board sets long-term and annual targets for itself and for the head of school, and devise appropriate metrics for the school's overall effectiveness, efficiency, and impact on learning. So the 5 C's are a great way to view the strategic and transformational changes that you want to implement and understand whether or not they are succeeding. If any one of these 5 C's is lacking, then it's likely that the change will not be effective or sustainable. If you had to write a couple of sentences now as part of your election campaign to be re-elected to the board, what would you say now that may have been different to before?